Let me ask you something uncomfortable. How much of your energy today, your decisions, your mood, your motivation, how much of it was secretly shaped by whether someone else noticed you, whether they acknowledged you, whether they finally gave you the recognition you've been quietly waiting for? Because here is the truth most people never say out loud. The most exhausting life is not the life of someone who works too hard. It is the life of someone who keeps waiting, waiting to be seen, waiting to be chosen, waiting to feel worthy only after someone else confirms it. And if that sentence landed somewhere in your chest just now, stay with me. Because what you're about to hear in this video might be the exact shift your mind has been waiting for. Welcome back to Stoic Wisdom Quotes, the channel where we don't just talk about ancient philosophy. We translate it into the kind of real, daily, practical truth that actually changes how you carry yourself through life. If you are new here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button right now, because every single week, we bring you ideas rooted in Stoic wisdom that help you become calmer, stronger, and more anchored in who you actually are. And if you are returning, thank you for being here. Let's get into it. Part 1. The trap most people never are cognised here is a trap so subtle that most people fall into it without ever realizing it has swallowed them. They do not just want to grow. That would be healthy. That would be natural. Every living thing that is working correctly reaches toward growth. Know what most people secretly want is for their growth to be noticed quickly, validated quickly, and admired quickly. And because of that one hidden need, their attention starts drifting outward in the most dangerous direction possible. Instead of asking, "Am I becoming stronger? Am I sharper than I was last month? Is my discipline actually improving?" they start asking, "Are people paying attention yet? Is anyone finally seeing my value? Does anyone notice how hard I am working?" The moment that shift happens, the moment external recognition becomes the measurement, your inner world starts losing its foundation. Work becomes emotional. Progress becomes painful. Discipline becomes fragile. And here's the part that really stings. If your motivation is wired to being noticed, then silence starts feeling like rejection. Invisibility starts feeling like failure. And the slow, necessary, often quiet season of genuine growth becomes almost unbearable to your ego. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, they all pointed to the same dangerous pattern across different centuries. And their warning was this: most people become so consumed by the desire to be seen that they never build the kind of life, character, and capability that would have made recognition feel irrelevant in the first place. Read that again. Let it sit. They want to be seen before they become substantial. They want respect before they build evidence. They want visibility before they have created any real weight. And here is the tragedy buried in that cycle: the more desperately you need to be noticed, the weaker your presence actually becomes. Because dependence has a tone. It leaks through your words, through your timing, through the way you explain yourself too much, justify yourself too often, and shrink yourself just enough to stay approved. People may not be able to name it consciously, but they can feel it. They can sense when someone is trying to be seen more than they are trying to become. Part 2. What Stoicism actually teaches about Stoicism offers a harsh truth, but it is one of the cleanest truths you will ever receive. It tells you plainly, your worth cannot safely live inside other people's reactions. Because their reactions are, by nature, unstable. Their praise is unstable. Their judgment is unstable. Their attention is unstable. Their understanding of your value is unstable. And if your confidence rises and falls with something that unreliable, then your inner world will never have a real foundation, no matter how talented you are. Epictetus, who was born into literal slavery and still became one of history's greatest thinkers, said it this way: The only thing that is truly ours is our own mind, our own choices, our own values. Everything outside that, other people's opinions, their recognition, their applause, belongs to a category we cannot control. And to build your identity on something you cannot control is to build your house on sand. So the real question is not, why haven't they noticed me yet? The real question is, am I building something solid enough inside myself that one day their noticing stops being the point? Because being overlooked does not mean you are worthless. Sometimes it means you are still in the season where roots are forming underground. And roots, by nature, are always invisible before they become undeniable. Sometimes it means the room you are seeking validation from is simply too shallow to recognize value until it becomes impossible to ignore. And sometimes it means something even simpler than that. Life is asking you to become stronger without applause. Because history has shown us that applause arriving too early has quietly destroyed many people who deserved better outcomes. Part 3. Stop chasing recognition, start building. PROF. This is where the philosophy has to become practical. Because understanding the trap is one thing. Escaping it requires a completely different set of daily questions. Stop asking, did they notice me? Start asking, am I more disciplined than I was 30 days ago? Stop asking, am I being recognized? Start asking, is my work producing visible evidence? Are you more focused, more stable, more capable of keeping the promises you make to yourself when no one is watching and no one is clapping? Because those are the questions that build a life. The other questions only build hunger, a hunger that can never be fully fed. Because it depends on a source that was never yours to control. Real value does not need endless explanation. It needs visible proof. It needs consistency. It needs skill. It needs repeated decisions, boring, unglamorous, daily decisions that slowly make your life harder to dismiss. A lot of people want the world to believe in a version of themselves they have not actually built yet. They want to be respected for discipline they do not yet live, for strength that only shows up in emotional bursts, for mastery they have not yet put in enough repetitions to own. And when the world does not respond the way they expected, they feel insulted. But reality is often simpler than that. The world is not rejecting you. It is simply refusing to confirm a claim. You have not yet turned into visible evidence. That is why you have to stop chasing recognition and start building proof. Quiet proof. Daily proof. The kind that does not need to be announced because it is already forming inside your habits. Getting up when it is easier to stay down. Finishing what you start. Saying no to what weakens you. Repeating the boring discipline that no one celebrates because it is still too early for anyone to understand what it is building. That kind of evidence changes a person from the inside out. It does something deeper than impress others. It makes you believable to yourself. And that is where real presence begins. Part 4. The power of silence, standards, and staying hard to IKJC Kane. Now once you stop measuring your worth by attention, a deeper truth emerges. Not everything that is growing inside you should be exposed. Before it has roots, many people speak too early about the version of themselves they are trying to become. And that talking gives them a false sense of movement. They describe the discipline. They announce the change. The nervous system gets a small reward, as if the progress has already happened. But words spent too early can drain the energy that should have gone into action. There is another danger. Some people in your life were comfortable with your old hesitation, comfortable with your old self-doubt. Your change asks something uncomfortable of them because it removes the old agreement. So when you share too early, you expose something fragile to voices that are not strong enough or generous enough to hold it well. This is why silence, in the Stoic tradition, is not weakness. It is protection. It is choosing roots over noise, depth over display. Reality over announcement. A person who is truly changing does not need to broadcast every shift. They let the work accumulate privately. They let the standard become normal inside their own life first. They let the habit get strong enough to survive opinion before exposing it to commentary. And your standards, this is critical, your standards are never revealed by what you say about yourself. They are revealed by what you keep accepting, what you keep refusing, and what your life quietly proves you are willing to live with. A lot of people talk about self-respect in ways that sound powerful, but their choices keep speaking a different language. Life always listens to behavior more than intention. Every choice is teaching your nervous system something. Every one of them is quietly saying, "This is the level I am willing to live at." The strongest version of you becomes more selective, not arrogant, but honest. You stop giving equal access to everything that wants your attention. You stop treating all inputs as neutral. You understand that if something repeatedly steals your discipline, your peace, or your clarity, it is not a small issue anymore. It is part of the architecture of the life that keeps you small. So you cut the noise before chasing more inspiration. You reduce the drain before asking for more energy. You protect the path before demanding stronger focus. Part 5. The final paradox, how presence becomes undinable here, is where all of this turns into something beautiful. When you stop needing to be seen, something strange begins to happen. Your presence actually gets stronger, not because life turns magical, but because dependence is gone, the neediness is gone. The scattered energy is gone. In its place is something far rarer, a person who is rooted in their path, private in their growth, harder to provoke, and no longer willing to trade inner solidity for temporary recognition. Your energy stops leaking outward. Your work becomes cleaner. Your speech changes. Your need to over-explain disappears. Your choices start speaking louder than your words ever could. You do not need to tell people you have become more disciplined. Your life tells them you do not need to defend your standards. Your behavior displays them. You do not need to announce you are no longer the same person. The atmosphere around you begins revealing it on its own. That is how transformation becomes hard to ignore. Not because you spoke louder, but because you built longer. Not because you've demanded attention, but because you protected the process until it became real enough to stand on its own. That is the real Stoic paradox. And it is worth saying plainly one final time. Do not focus on yourself so they clap for you. Focus on yourself until you no longer need their applause to keep going. Until your discipline is no longer fragile. Until your standards are no longer negotiable. Until your calm is no longer easy to disturb. Until your work carries evidence. Until your life begins saying what your mouth used to beg people to believe. Because once that happens, you do not have to force presence. You do not have to demand respect. Your life starts carrying its own signal. If this video gave you something real today, something that landed, something that shifted even one thought, please take 2 seconds and hit the like button right now. It costs you nothing, and it helps this message reach the people who need it most. If you know someone who is struggling with needing approval, feeling invisible, or losing themselves to other people's opinions, share this video with them. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for someone is put the right words in front of them at the right moment. And if you are not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Every week on this channel, we bring you Stoic wisdom that is not just philosophical, it is practical, honest, and built for real life. Write in the comments below, I build until I no longer need applause. Let that be your commitment to yourself today. Thank you for being here. Stay disciplined. Stay rooted. And remember, the strongest presence is the one that no longer begs to be felt. We will see you in the next one.